following program is intended for a mature listening audience. Graphic and explicit language may be heard at times. The views expressed and opinions given by the individual hosts and their guests do not necessarily express those of this station or sponsors. Listeners are advised that neither the station nor owners and agents will be held liable for the content of this program. Rebroadcast, redistributed, or reused without the express written permission without the host or producer is not allowed. You are listening to Family Spirit International.
How's it going, my man?
Oh my God. I got to say thank you to Matt and all the class for this weekend. We had the best time. Got to see one of the best light shows in the sky ever Friday night.
I know it. It was intense. We had so much fun.
And it was funny and that the fact that one of our friends, Debbie, who's another radio host on another network we're on, she called us and says, y'all got to come out and see this. And then we started watching UFOs everywhere, helicopters flying everywhere. And the energy it was putting off was just amazing. And then it roped into Saturday. We had a great day Saturday, investigated all night Saturday night. And it was so fun. Got to stay at our favorite bed and breakfast at Gilded Bat. I got to stay in the Medusa room, which was so nice. That bed was so comfortable.
Wasn't it? It was beautiful. I stayed in the Bride of Dracula room. We had a king size. I think it's a California king.
Oh, that's a California king.
At least, because it was so big. Matt reached for me and he had to slide me across the sheets like 3 feet to get to me.
Nice.
I told Matt, I said, our little, the smallest investigator we have, little Tammy Shaw. I told him, I said, if Tammy slept in this bed, we'd have to give her a flare gun so we could find her. She's so tiny. Huh? It was so much fun. Erica is the best hostess. I really enjoyed going to the Gilded Bat. I enjoyed, meeting new people. Thank you, everybody that came to the Gilded Bat for the Spirits of Newberry. Thank you so much. I think that we're going to have a great time, continuing to do things there. We investigated the a beautiful Victorian cemetery that's on the historic register. It didn't disappoint either.
No.
Abbeville is a beautiful town, and Newberry is too. So,
how about this for coincidence? We're sitting there, and Lee goes, "Come here. There's a guy from Alabama buried here."
And
I'm like, oh my God.
Didn't he have plenty to say? Oh my goodness. He was so thrilled to talk to you. And
he had another kindred spirit from Alabama. And it's like, I knew where he was from, the area. And he just talked and talked and talked to us, put the flashlight on, turned it off. K2 just going completely nuts every time we'd ask him a question. And he even confirmed where his family was. And it was literally, I said, could you tell me, is your family behind me? And the K2 went off all the way to red.
Yeah. There's a big mystery, guys. You know what? Let's bring our folks in so we can talk a little bit about our trip, because I want them to hear about the Cemetery Club. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to bring in Thomas Gormley, and we all know him as a spiritualist. He is also a demonologist, and he works with a beautiful lady that is a psychic, and together with his experience interviewing prisoners and getting to know the prisoners' minds and the things that happen with criminals, I call him a paranormal profiler. I think that suits him well. And so he's joining us tonight. And I have a special guest, a very, very dear friend of mine, just precious man. His name is Zay Sanders. He's a counselor, and he's been on my show previously. And please watch for more of Zay and Thomas as you watch Family Spirit. Just let me bring them on right now.
Hey
guys.
Hey, thank you for having me.
No, thank you for being here, man. We appreciate both of you.
Yes, absolutely. We've got the chat room coming right up here. We've got a lot of people. Hey, Tracy. Hey,
Hey,
David.
Tracy. Hey, David.
Crystal. Hey, girl. Hey. Hello, Jay. Oh, George, thank you for joining us. You know how much you mean to us. Oh, Jay calling me mama, sweet thing. Yes. And Alabama folks love to talk when they're alive. And just imagine when they're deceased. Yeah, he was
Crystal,
that.
he was very talkative, and he was a lawyer too. So you know he had a lot to say. A lot.
So Christopher Fisher is our moderator for our chat room. I am going to bring him in. Let me go ahead and bring him in. Oh, my goodness. You can tell it's in the South. You know, we've already got the mosquitoes and the flies. We didn't have much of a winter.
We have that up north here too, because I live by a creek.
That's right. Oh, yes, I know you do. Now, listen to this, Blaine. Go ahead and tell them about what was it, Saxon. His name was Thomas Saxon, Esquire.
Esquire. Yeah.
Yes. He had his license to practice law in Alabama and South Carolina. He was into politics. And whenever we talked about lawyers not being very scrupulous, he didn't make a response. But then we said, well, the truth is, you have to be able to make an argument if you're a lawyer. That's all that you're. And he liked that. He was like, yeah, that's true. But didn't he like talking about his mustache?
Oh my God, did he ever? I gave you a picture of what I picked up on the gentleman. He had one of those nice handlebar mustaches with the little curly cues on the end.
Yep.
And very friendly, and he was sort of like the leader of the cemetery because he knew everybody there.
Yep, he did.
They all know him. He knew a family that owned the Gilded Bat when it was built, the Roof family. And, I'm sure they sit in the same circles, doctors and lawyers. They probably had some tea together and some dinners and saw each other here and there. But it was so active. And I hated we had to leave because you can't stay in there after dark.
Yeah,
So
you're not supposed to. And there are a lot of graves that are, you can tell they're sunk. And they're not marked. And there's no way to mark them now. But yeah, I hated to leave too.
What we found out is they had moved a lot of the graves out of that graveyard, moved to another one. Well, Dr. Baxter, the Mr. Baxter had his whole family, and they put them in a brick crypt, and it was completely sealed.
Completely sealed all the way around.
Because that way they could not move his whole family because it was already sealed. But there was one over there that was sealed the same way, and somebody busted into it. It looks like they took everything out of it. So,
oh wow,
yeah, it was awful. But we also saw evidence of different plagues. There was one gentleman that had to bury his niece, his two twins, and the niece she died during child labor. The baby died, and so did she. So, yeah, he had quite a hard time, and he was still there. Guarding over the tombs. I thought that was just wow.
That
indicative of that type of life in that period.
Well, he pretty much had a captive audience, right?
Sorry, I got strangled. I was coughing there.
I thought nobody liked my joke.
Yeah, the captive audience is right. We have a little teddy bear that we call the Scare Bear, and it's got a little piece of equipment inside of it, Zay, and it lights up and makes noise and music. And Matt put it on this child's grave, and her name was Fanny, and she lived 2 weeks, but she was presenting herself more like a toddler. And Matt set it on the grave and said, look, it sings. And it started, and she rolled it this way and rolled it that way.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my goodness. It did all kinds of things. And we had flashlights turning off and on in rhythm. We had them rolling and rolling back. And
now I have a question.
Yeah.
Does that happen often where spirits will present themselves in an older way than when they passed?
Yes.
A lot.
Okay.
Well, so you got to remember though, their energy, even though it was not sustained long in that body, that energy's been around for a long time, and they may have lived a past life with their best times where they were an adult or a toddler. So they
I see.
themselves and stuff that they liked, which I think is pretty cool because you know, like little babies really can't communicate. Now as a toddler, it can communicate a little bit better and just have a good time.
Understood. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Also, we had some children in previous. Blaine and I try to update each other on our cases as best we can. Over the past, decade, no more than that, 2 decades, we've been pretty much investigating in this lifetime together. And we have been able to find out, like there was one lady, I told the story of Hattie Jackson, but I'll make it brief this time. Hattie Jackson fell in love. She's a red-haired, freckle-faced, beautiful young lady, and she fell in love with a gentleman from China that had come over here seeking a better life, and he had to pay his way out of servitude in order to be free. And it really wasn't ever going to happen. But she fell in love with him, and she got pregnant. And he walked in during the train loading and receiving inventory, and he understood that there was a embezzlement problem going on with the train systems. They were saying they were ordering a certain amount of coal, but then when the coal shipment came in, it was obviously much less, and the money went in their pockets, and they said that the trains were running hot, meaning that the coal was burning fast. And so finally, after this happened several times, what happened was there was an audit. And so everybody was afraid, gosh, the auditor's here. When he came through, does that mean that he knows that he heard us talking? Well, he doesn't speak English, but Hattie does. And he's with Hattie. He understood what we said. So that's where that went. And he told her to leave. And she made it to Newberry and stayed at the Newberry Hotel. And he told her, and she let it be known to other people, he was going to try to get away. And if he didn't make it, she would know that they caught him.
Mm.
And so she made it, and they did catch him. And so she hung herself in the stairwell. And she was pregnant, like I said. But if you investigate that story and the history, you can actually see her handwriting in the archives of the Newberry Hotel. They're online. I can't remember. I think it's Newberry History Archive, something like that. You could probably search for it and it'll pop up. It's also in my book, and I think I've got a picture of her signature in there. But she knew that they would kill her because she would also know about what happened. They would assume that she knew. And then what if her baby was a girl? What kind of life would she lead after mom and dad are dead? She would be in a servitude situation and probably prostitution and abuse her whole life. And death was actually better than that. So whenever they all presented themselves to us, I was talking to Hattie and she was like, go away, leave us alone. And then she was like, you're going to judge me and things like that. But the truth is, all of a sudden we started hearing someone speaking in Mandarin. And then we heard English and we heard a baby cry. And then we heard someone talking to us. And it was the child. So the child had grown up in spirit, stayed with the parents, spoke English and Mandarin. So that's how that works. It doesn't just stop when someone dies. There is life after death, and therefore there are stages of life, including death. That's one of the things that Thomas works very strongly with his partner, his paranormal partner, and she's a psychic medium. And between the two of them, basically, it's like you and I would do. You would be, counseling the spirits, and here I am just trying to bring them to you.
Right.
It's
Mhm.
pretty crazy. She's very, very good, and so is Tom.
So from what you're saying, there's the other side of it too. As the
Yes.
spirit grows with it. Just so you
Yes.
know, when there's trauma involved and all that, I had a case where there was a gentleman that passed away in his 80s, but he went through a lot in life. It's a long story. I'm not going to get into it. But the people that moved into the house, his trauma was his mom abandoned him and he had to go live with his uncle at the age of 7. So the people that moved into the house saw the spirit of the guy that died in his 80s has a 7-year-old. So they saw him at his point of trauma. So you could still see that as along with as they grow, but you could also be taken back in time to that trauma also.
Yep.
Wow, that's really awesome. That's really awesome that in the spirit that they're able to not just speak with you about the trauma, but take you back to, hey, this is where I was. This is how I reasoned. This is where, this is when this happened, and I need you to see it from this point of view.
Yep.
That's really interesting.
And the way I look at it, guys, it's like that's their form of therapy that they didn't get in their lifetime. They're doing it as a transgression into the afterlife, and now to help them heal themselves. If they go back to that time of their worst point of their life, it helps them heal that pain as well, because that stays with them even after death. Because you don't forget something like by being abandoned,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, a lot of times it creates that wheel. It happens over and over again residually.
Yeah.
And us as investigators or healers have to see how that's going, and we have to intervene to stop that, to help them heal.
Yeah.
Like this boy that's showing me that his trauma was his abandonment, and how do we interact with him? Like Zay, like you do with counseling and all that. How do we interact with the spirit like that to make that decision, to make the decision to stop the circle and move on and be where, his loved ones are, his family, and everything like that.
It seems awfully helpful, though, that a spirit would take you to, like, here is where I was when this happened. Here was my age. Here was my mindset, because that helps a lot when it comes to stepping in and helping them walk through that trauma.
Yeah, it does, actually. And you're correct about that, Zay. It's like, I think they are pretty close to, they pick up on our energy levels enough that they trust us enough that they can go back and tell us, hey, this happened to me, and it's affected my whole life and my afterlife. And being a psychologist, having a degree in psychology and a healer, my steps is to get that person, okay, thank you for telling me your story on this. Now let's see what we can do to make it where you don't lose the memory of it, but you lose the pain of that memory.
That's right. Blaine has often, because he has traits of being empathic, it's very strong actually, besides having a clear audience where he can actually hear spirits, and then he can have clear sentience where he actually sees them. Sometimes he has both. Sometimes he's just got very strong empathic signs. It just flops back and forth with him. And he also has a great way of being able to get people to laugh. And there's a lot of healing and laughter, and that is really a very strong point for him. It's a Lakota walk, actually, that he didn't even realize that it was Lakota. It was just something that came natural to him. So I think it's really cool that, he's able to dig into a case and be able to sort through it based off what he's feeling. And if it gets to be too much, he will say, okay, back off. I got the message, back off. And I think that's my takeaway from this weekend, because he was getting a lot of pain. One of the spirits was trying to let him know, yes, I lived here. This is what I did. Here is my job. And trying to communicate how she passed or her illness, it was too strong. It wasn't necessary for it to be that prevalent. And Blaine's like, I got your message. I hear what you're saying. Now back off. That hurts, They don't know. They don't know.
No, and it was very painful. When we come to find out, the lady was trying to pull something out of the oven, and she pulled her back. Well, I felt that, and it was so strong and painful. It felt like I was getting stabbed by thousands of knives in my lower back.
She
must
have
as long as I could. And I thought,
I think she slipped.
She had to have. She messed up the disc. She did slip a disc because I could feel that. And I finally got to the point of my pain threshold. I said, "Could you please back off? I understand. You can tell me now. You don't have to show me," because that was very painful, and it hurt for a good 30 minutes after she finally stopped.
Also, she was so happy to tell her story. We had the little mag lights that twist in the windowsills. There's no furniture down there. And so we had them in several windows, and she would turn one on and then the next and then the next and the next, just like she was playing the bells, turn them on. Even she would go back and forth. She was really great at being able to do that. And in time, after she figured out how to communicate with them, she did a great job letting us know what she was feeling and
Oh yeah.
thinking. And Mr. Saxon Esquire at the grave, when he would laugh, the KT would go tick, 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 like you could hear him laughing, it was so endearing. I mean, it doesn't
It
have
was
to
actually,
be,
yeah.
it doesn't have to be jump scare, we're all in trouble, this is all evil. There's actually a very endearing side of spirituality and ghost hunting.
That's that people don't take the time to really listen to what the spirits are telling us. It's important to listen. Like you guys are saying, they got so excited. Think about it, you as a person, just us living right now. I think if we were alone for a year, we'd probably go nuts. Some of these spirits, we don't know how long they've been alone, and somebody's
Yep.
finally able to hear them.
Right.
It's like I've talked about before, you're a lifeguard and somebody's drowning and all that, and you come to rescue them. They get so excited, they grab you and all that. You can get scratched, pushed, whatever. That's what happens sometimes. And you have to realize it's not always something bad. It's excitement from the spirit. Hey, somebody could see me. Somebody could talk to me. Whatever clair that you have that they're able to communicate with. So that makes it exciting.
I use that example with one of our students. He does not like going into graveyards. Mm-hmm. And I asked him why he didn't. He said, I just don't, I think like I'm doing something wrong. I said, let me tell you this. You go into that graveyard and speaking to those people who might not have been spoken to in multi-years, decades, centuries. And now they got somebody that actually wants to talk to them and recognize them and acknowledge them. It does a wonder for their psyche, even their spirit psyche. Because you got somebody that's concerned, and it's like somebody cares about me now, and somebody wants to talk to me. And I tell the spirits before I leave every cemetery, look, I will eventually come back here. Don't worry, you're never alone. And I can see you out here. Oh, look at
how beautiful!
I got a little 4-month-old lab puppy.
How precious!
Oh, they're beautiful. I got a chocolate lab. She's just as bad.
She is something else. Mine are outside playing right now.
So Blaine, to expound on that, talking about the cemeteries and talking to your student, let him know there's 2 deaths that we're going to experience when we leave our shell and go into spirit, and then when nobody ever says your name ever again. That's your second death. So when you're in those graveyards, it's very important that you hear those stories if you can, or if you can't see, it's always important to read the epitaphs, the name on all of them. If you're there for a funeral or anything like that, just do your due diligence. Just, help these people. Just say their name. That's all they need sometimes. I always think saying your name is very powerful.
Absolutely. Yes. I always think it's interesting how a lot of times when I hear people talk about their spiritual encounters, how they tend to interpret it as something super impactful, something super meaningful, and not like you guys have just said. Sometimes they just want to have a conversation because they hadn't spoken to someone in maybe centuries, Yeah. So that's a great angle to think about it of, hey, this is still a trait. This is still that communication, that connection with people is still desired even after your first death,
I agree. I know the Egyptian beliefs were that when you're dead, you are really dead when nobody's saying your name. But it does bring you to life when your name is spoken again. And that's why a lot of these treasures were buried, with these rulers, because they were expecting them. Okay, we're sealing you off. We're giving you your peace, and you can cross into this next dimension. They didn't believe dimension. It was this next I don't know what they called it, the river Styx and all of
Conti-
that, I think was
yeah,
part of it, right?
they're,
And
they're, conti-
yeah,
they're continuance of the life cycle is what it was actually called.
exactly. So, but then again, it's also in the Mexican culture. That's the whole point
Yeah.
of the Day of the Dead. You remember all of them and their favorite things, and that way they're able to stay with you.
Yeah.
I think it's beautiful.
I do too.
I'm actually working with hospice right now. There's a lady that's like us. She's not a typical. She doesn't have a typical view on things, and so she's like, I want to learn more about the afterlife now. So her therapy with me and the chaplain, we're going to her room. The chaplain came, by the way. I'm very excited about that, Blaine. I didn't get to tell you, but we have our ghost equipment, and she's talking with her family, and they're letting her know we're here waiting for you. We love you, and this is what you can expect. And so she's packing a bag ready to roll. She's she's in that different mind space. I'm very proud of her. She has different days. She has different days where she feels forlorn and all is lost and stuff, but
Well,
it's
well, Lee, she tickled me. It was like, well, okay, we got her daughter to come in there and talk to her. We got her husband to come in there.
her granddaughter and her husband,
And
and her
we
father
were having,
came with
yes,
me.
father came.
Wow.
And while we were sitting there, she got a phone call. And plus, okay, we had placed a lot of crystals around her. This is the funniest thing. And she just like nothing. She answers the phone. She says, "What are you doing?" She says, "I'm playing with witches. I'm sitting with witches and playing with rocks." I about died laughing.
She's pagan. This lady's pagan. She's like, "Hey, what you doing?" She said, "Oh, I'm just sitting here with witches playing with rocks." And then they asked again later. She said, "I told you, I'm sitting with witches playing with rocks."
Play rocks.
It wasn't exactly the truth because I don't use that label, but it was really sweet, and she had such a good sense of humor. Guess what? I'm going to bring her next, Blaine.
What,
She's
baby?
never had Scuppernong wine or Muscadine wine.
You
So
didn't
I'm
bring
Oh
that
wow.
Yes, and so I'm gonna take some to her, and
Yeah,
she's like,
both of you would have loved her. Her energy is just great. And for somebody that's very close to death, she is so accepted that she is going to die. But she wants a cheat sheet. She wants to know what to do before she gets there.
she
So
wants a
when she gets
playbook.
there, she wants a playbook. She wants to know how she's going to take it over when she gets there.
Yeah, that's her. She's
It's funny how she's caught in between. I think her spirit already knows what's going to happen,
it
but
does.
her shell doesn't. So it's like
Yeah.
caught in between. But we always talk the hospice nurses and all that. Those are the ones I've talked to many, many times, and that's where that love never leaves you. Your family is always around, and they're waiting for you, and they're going to guide you, and that's what they see as that moment comes.
Isn't that something?
Yeah,
I can tell you
It's
this.
hard
I can tell you this, guys. When we were in there, I was watching family member after family member after family member, friends, and I could tell you there was at least, I quit counting at about 60 that were in the room. Yeah, and they were all just beaming.
Well, she's made friends with spirits that are still there.
Yeah.
I walked in, she was talking to somebody. I'm like, "Who are you talking to?" He died around the corner. He was on the other hallway. He's just wondering how I was doing. I said, "Does he stay? Why does he stay here?" She said, "Oh, he goes where he wants to. He did when he was alive. He does now." And I just
Well, it's funny that you say that. Is a lot of times we go to these haunted hotels, these old train stations and all that. It's the hustle and bustle. The people still go. Even though their shell's gone, their spirit is still there to go to that hotel they used to go to all the time, where they had their honeymoon and all that. That energy never dies. It's always there, where people love and all that. And I've been to a lot of places where I know it's like, they loved being here, and you could feel it.
But Thomas, one thing I love about it though is like everywhere you go, you've left a piece of yourself or energy behind you, and now you're at this life, you're confined to this body of a shell. When you pass over and you go into the spirit world, you go to your energy, you can go to all these places that were good to you or bad to you and not be stuck in one location. So, but they leave enough of their energy in each place they go to. So you can communicate with this person that's in the train station. and that person was at a ball game. Like, just say he was at Fenway Park watching. He was a baseball fan, and I could pick him up at the ball field, and while somebody else is talking to him at the train station. And that's what I love about the energy, because you're not confined to this capsule or this vessel. So when you go another place, you can be multiple places at one time, which we can't do now.
Yeah.
We don't have Zay much longer. He's got another 30 minutes with us. He's got another appointment at 8. So I wanted to ask Zay a few questions before we lose him. Whenever you do counseling, how do you break the ice with your patients when you're doing counseling? I mean, I know you've got a generally your personality.
Oh, wow. I'm interested in also in this.
Oh, good. How do you go about that? Because I feel like I could improve that in myself when I'm trying to speak with spirits and with patients and people in general.
Absolutely. Well, the number one thing I try to do when I'm speaking with people is not to dictate the direction of the conversation. And I'm sure that you guys already do this when you're speaking with spirits, when you're speaking with those entities that have something to say. I try to remember people that come into therapy have already made a couple of commitments. Number one, a financial commitment.
Yeah.
That's
and
true.
number two, most of them, not all, but most of them have made a commitment to speak on something.
That's right.
They have something to say, and I have a response that they're looking for, or an engagement that they're looking for. What I'm not there to do is to tell them what to think and what direction to go in. So a lot of times when I'm breaking the ice, a lot of times I'll ask them, hey, what is the most impactful event that's happened that's made you end up right here today? And usually that question is so widespread that it allows a conversation to blossom. I keep a lot of my questions very wide, in the sense of, hey, we can go whatever direction you want to go with this. And I'm not here to tell you which direction to go. Maybe today we're talking about something happy and benevolent. Or maybe today or maybe it's more serious, But one thing I don't try to do is say, hey, let's talk about the abuse that happened, or let's talk about we're going to talk about whatever you decide. So open-ended questions is the name of the game. Open-ended questions.
All right. So I wonder if it would work if I flip that. And I've been trying to do this because as a Reiki practitioner, Reiki master, I have to state my intention. And I not only do that, but I also state it with the intention of creating an energy field or energy healing, something to do with the creation of something. So I thought, and I've been trying this, and I tried it at the cemetery, Blaine, but I think that you had students with you and I had them with me, and we didn't get to do that together. Yeah. But I've started stating my intention, like, okay, not dearly beloved, we are gathered here together, not like that, but state it like, well, I'm here. This is what I do. Because they'll often come and say, why are you here? Why do you want to talk to me? Why do you care? I've gotten a lot of that.
Me too.
Why do you care? Why are you here? Leave me alone. So I've had to try to change that up. And as I've learned, I've been going into my degree. I've got it one more test, and then I've got my dissertation for my degree in philosophy. So it's not psychology like Blaine. I wish I had done that, actually. But I'm trying to tune myself to where I have the right words. And I've been saying what brought me here today is that I want to hear your voice. I want to bring, and I say, I want to hear you. I want to hear your voice. Yeah. I want your old body to have a voice again. I want to bring you back to life for a little while. Yeah. I'm not here to judge. I'm here to love. I want to hear you. I'm listening to you. And then all of a sudden, here comes Mr. Esquire, and that's what I've been doing lately. And I feel like I'm getting somewhere. And of course, I think it did. I think it did. And I think that I need to, you gave me confirmation. Say thank you.
And you know what? I want to speak on that a minute. And you brought up something very important, is setting an atmosphere of expectation, right? Creating that energy that of receiving and listening. A lot of times we tend to, and even me when I'm speaking with people in sessions, I make sure before that session that there's an atmosphere of calmness and subtlety and listening before that person comes. Before that person comes,
Tom is that
making
way
sure you
too.
speak those affirmations. Absolutely.
Yep.
I had lunch with Tom. I talk about it all the time because it was really a very special time with two new friends getting to know each other, and I could tell he's a professional listener too. I could tell, and that's why I wanted you two to meet. There's definite personality traits you guys share,
Mhm.
and gotta get my tribe together sometimes.
Always.
So it's very
Definitely right
cool.
on that. I really, everything Zay is saying is stuff I practice on a daily basis.
I'm
Yeah,
getting
me too.
emotional. I'm getting
Yeah,
emotional because I feel
it
like
is.
what a breakthrough.
It is.
Great stuff.
Yeah.
I am working on boundaries with
Mhm.
spirit, like Blaine kind of, when he said he said it before. Don't get me wrong. I've been investigating with him for years, but something about it this time hit me. And I'm like, I'm willing to do so much in order to either protect a client or to bring healing to a spirit or healing to a location that's got negative energy. Just, name it. I'm willing to even to the point of sacrificing my comfort to do that. Um, and even more, I probably shouldn't admit out loud what that is, but I'm starting to realize how important boundaries are.
Mhm.
And also how to explain to other empaths, because when people take my courses, my classes at Piedmont Tech, Blaine helps me with that too, and he's heard it, I know. They'll often say, um, well, why do I feel this? Why do I feel that? What is, what is happening when I feel something touch me, or and they would say to him, I'm getting a feeling of butterflies in my stomach, or, I'm getting the feeling I'm about to cry, but I have no reason to be sad. And we'd look around and we would see this whole family died within a year and a half of each other. And they're picking up on the sorrow of the people maybe that either attended the funeral or the last person that passed, watching everybody go before them. It could be anything.
Mm.
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 But I feel like we need to emphasize that empaths need to be able to set boundaries and know how to use them.
You know what I think would be super interesting and super uh, helpful to several practices, and maybe you guys have done this before, but I can almost guarantee, especially from lingering emotions and lingering interactions at therapy offices,
Uh-huh.
that you
Oh,
could
yeah.
probably encounter several spirits that may be lingering there.
Oh, you
That's
do.
right.
Mhm.
I know, for instance, I'll give a small example of when I have certain clients that I meet with. Sometimes I feel the heaviness
Oh, yeah.
before they come. It's as if whatever spirit that may be attached to that particular happening comes before them, and I
Yeah.
feel that
Yes, the
before
cloud
they
comes
get there.
before the storm. That's what we've been saying. The cloud comes before the storm. It arrives before they do to make sure that
Yep.
everybody is affected. There's something that is a spirit that is living within that. It's very scary in that the person can't see it. That's why it's
Yeah.
so important for people like us that are willing to intervene to change that energy so that
Yep.
they don't have that feeling. Um, what I mean by that is if somebody has, they call it attachments, but it's not necessarily that. It can be energy that's attracted by, okay, this negative thing has happened, or I'm a victim, and all of a sudden now I find my identity in my pain, my suffering, my
Mm.
victimizing state of mind. Now they're waving red flags to spirits that are searching for victims because now
Oh.
they've got the label on their forehead. I am a victim. I am forever a victim. And now these other things start coming, and the spirits that it's just like polarities being able to mash up together. And that's why I feel that religious provocation does work, because you are changing the energy and expecting a change. That's why positive affirmations work. That's where we need that extra energy. And
Yeah.
I'm trying to work more on that too. In fact, the class
Yep.
this time is about positive affirmations
Mhm.
and about energy and about Reiki and healing.
Yeah. Now, Zay, I will tell you this: you are a natural empath.
I know.
Mm.
Okay. Um, One of the things I'd suggest for you, because you do take in a lot of different energies that come into your office or your space where you help people with their counseling. When you go home, you need to ground yourself for one. And every time you take a bath or a shower, take just a little bit of sea salt with you. You don't need much. Just put a little bit in your hands, rub it together, take your bath or shower, and that'll help clear some of that negative energy off of you.
It'll
Because-
also cut
Absolutely.
energy. It'll
Yeah.
cut energy from you if there's
Yeah.
something that's trying to, oh, wait a minute, there's not enough of this or that. I'm curious about him. Let's see if I can, it'll get rid of it. It will.
I love that. I love that. In several times, after sessions, depending on how heavy the topic may be, sometimes that feeling can stay with you a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
It can kind of hang with you a little bit. So that's definitely valuable information for sure.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
Blaine, I meant to tell you this next class, the next session we're in tomorrow. I want to do some laughter therapy. I think that would be a lot of fun because
Oh.
I thought that would.
Perfect.
I mean, your body doesn't know if you're not laughing.
Yeah.
If you just make the movement of laughing, your body thinks that you're happy, and it completely changes things.
Oh, God, yeah.
So I just thought it would be really cool, to try some of that. Also, Tuesday morning serial on Thomas
Yeah.
Patrick Gormley's TikTok channel is Insight on Serial Killers. And before we lose Zay, let's go to that because that's exactly what we're here for. Blaine, since you're doing John Wayne Gacy, let's give a little bit of John to him first, and then I'll bring in Dr. Death, Harold Shipman.
Okay. I have channeled John Wayne Gacy probably about 10 times.
Wow.
And I've
Wow.
asked him, and it's funny how he acted in life. He still acts in death. I had asked him several times. I said, "Why did you do what you do? Was it for power?" He said, and then he'd tell you one time, "I didn't do it. I had 2 people in my house that I'll let stay there that did the killings."
Yeah.
And then the next time I talked to him, he says, "Okay, I killed them all, and I did it because it was fun, and I had a blast doing it." So he's
Wow.
like
Yeah.
delusional, alive and in his spirit form, and he liked the power. He started off getting arrested in Iowa for pedophilia, and then he got out. But yeah, him. And I've had sometimes he'll talk about how he enjoyed killing his victims
Yeah.
and tricking boys that worked for him to go dig holes in his basement. And then after they dug the holes, he would go in there and put lime over the bodies and cover the holes back up and then have them come do it again.
Wow.
And let me tell you this too. I asked him, I said, "What was your obsession with clowns?" And most people don't know, but clowns actually came from medieval times. There were a group called the Highwaymen that would go rob, pillage, and rape people, and they would paint themselves up real smiley faces like a clown would. And he told me one time, he says, "I thought that was fascinating, that once you're behind that mask of a clown, you can be a whole different person because nobody knows you." But
Yeah. It gives you a free reign to do whatever,
you're
right?
allowed to do what you want to. Yep.
Well, we're talking about antisocial behavior. That's what this guy is. He felt like he could just make this stuff up as he goes. He doesn't have there's no right or wrong because he doesn't feel it, and what you think doesn't matter. So only what he thinks. Am I right? Okay.
Yep.
So since we don't have Zay much longer, I'm gonna start with you, bud. What do you feel about this antisocial personality? I mean, how do you treat that? That's worse than borderline personality disorder. That's a trip, but this was much worse. So what the hell, man? What do you do?
Well, being antisocial it doesn't necessarily have to be negative. Being antisocial doesn't mean necessarily anti-human or anti-life or anti any of that. Sometimes just being overly social can make people anxious, or it can, it can just be a little bit much for people. There are several antisocial. I know when we say that word, many times probably negative connotations come to mind, but there are several people that are not necessarily social. I don't want to say antisocial, but they're not very social, but they love people. It's just being in crowds can be much for them. But someone that is antisocial as an anti-people,
Yeah.
or have some kind of disdain towards someone else
There's a
or
mosquito in
a
my
group.
house. I'm sorry. If you see me slapping stuff, it's killing me.
You're
There's
fine.
a
You're fine.
mosquito. Luna got out,
You're all
and
good.
I
You're
had to
all
get her,
good.
and we had to hold the door open, and there's a big, it's about the size of a quarter. How can
Oh
it be
wow.
this early that it's that big? I'm sorry. I just didn't
You're
want you to think I was losing my mind, doing all this.
You're fine. You're
Go
fine.
ahead.
A lot of times, at least with people that I notice that come into my office when we're dealing with social behaviors, um, it normally ties back to either a set of events or a single event for a lot of people.
Mhm.
This particular, or if I'm trying to think as far as the spirit dealing with antisocial behaviors, um, it's interesting. I would love to know more about that particular spirit's uh, uh, background and interactions.
I've got a case that I'm working right now that's there's really no client, but it's just a very curious situation with the spirit, and that's been very forthcoming. If you want to ride along, and let's bring our equipment so that we can see them, because I mean they've gotten to be a pro at using this equipment, even though they're from the Victorian era. You might get some good insight. In
Wow,
fact,
wow,
this is
yeah.
the kind of thing I'm trying to work on now, to send to Dr. Arabeck. I'm supposed to do that as part of my dissertation for my emphasis in parapsychology.
Hmm.
So I think it'd be fun. I think it'd be great. And Thomas, I know Blaine. I'm not even going to ask Blaine because he's my right arm on most of this. But no, Matt's the right arm. You're the left. Both of you carrying me half the time. But Thomas, is that something you'd be interested in?
Oh, heck yeah. Anything I can do to help you out.
Okay,
So,
we're also going to be doing some workshops with mothers and fathers that have children that are showing some psychic abilities. And it's
Wow.
just going to be like Saturday morning, and we're going to have cereal and juice, and they'll probably watch some type of cartoons or something. It's very kid friendly, and we're going to do some things like uh, can you guess what's behind this, or could you tell me what this looks like or what you see, tell me about your latest dream. There's going to be some art interpretation, that type of thing. And we've got people that
Wow.
that are virtuosos in certain things that are coming. I mean, there's this one child, she's 9 years old, and she could tell me every type of haunting that's out there. She could go by something and say it's haunted by a person, like a male or female that's been there about 20 years. This person met a violent death. I mean, she's telling her mom all of this. And I met him at the library, and the little girl said, "Well, it's nice to meet you, and I like to watch your show before I go to sleep." And I'm like, "Holy crap, you're 9 years old." And then she said, "But I've got a house I want to take you to. And when I get halfway down the driveway, it does this, and I feel that, and no. And I was like, this kid is just the bomb.
Yeah.
I want to know more about this child, because she's not a 9-year-old spirit. Her
No, no, no.
soul is
Older.
way older. Blaine, you've got to meet this child. I'll send you a
I can't
picture of
wait.
her.
I can't wait.
She is
Yeah.
she's stoic, Wednesday Addams face,
Yeah.
beautiful like Wednesday, but longer
Yeah.
hair.
I was just thinking
Oh my
this
God.
girl must have a older spirit embodying her.
She's
Oh,
got
yeah.
to. She's got to. And I
She's
have another
definitely old
person
soul.
that's got two spirits in his body. I tried to do an attunement on him, and there were two crown chakras. And when I went
Wow.
to move them,
Wow, I didn't know
the
that could happen.
I
Yeah,
know
they
it
can.
was
Wherever
crazy.
can.
And when I went to touch them, it's like they kind of pulled back for me, like they were accommodating the. Yeah, I was like, "Holy crap!" And I got to here, and then it started going in more together. As it split his body, the chakras. I had two of each that I had to, and you had to have been a twin. You had to have been. So he was
Wow.
asking his mom. I can't wait to see him in class tomorrow night, because that was intense. I'd never seen anything like that. It was. I'll have to. I'll show you a picture of. I'll try to draw it out, Blaine, and then I'll send you a picture of the person.
Okay.
But Matt told me that when he started, that's what he saw. But he didn't tell me who it was in the room. And I was going around, and finally, I got to him and I was like, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I'd love to take you along. What do you do to try to clear the energies between clients? I mean, how does that work? Because you've got some that may be, the Peter Pan syndrome, that's always happy-go-lucky and it's a kid at heart forever. And then you've got others that are, borderline personality disorder, which can often attachments will actually connect with them and even motivate them to do, self-destructive things. How do you even clear your headspace? I don't even.
Well, number one, don't put clients too close together. Give yourself some time in between clients.
Okay.
I always make sure I have at least 30 minutes, at least, between my clients. Gives me time enough to write down whatever I need to write down, and time enough to set my atmosphere, like we talked about earlier, to set that atmosphere for the next client. Right. And that all goes into client care, even spiritual care, making sure that when that client is able to walk into that room, if they're bringing any type of negative spirit or negative energy with them, that spirit is encountered and combated with positive energy, uplifting energy, light energy, and that we're able to say, hey, we're not just going to let you come in here with that without saying you're going to have a fight on your hands, because we're going to make sure we envelop this room in that positive energy. So giving yourself time to do that. One of the things I love to do, and me, as you know, Lee, I'm a musician. So one of the things I love to do is make sure I have positive music, light music playing, things that set that atmosphere, so that when that other client comes in, they feel it.
That's it. I like that.
That's the way to go, dude. I tell some of my clients that have issues, and I'm like, look, think of something positive. Think of your favorite music that just makes you happy, wants you to make you dance, wants you to make you sing. Get into that, and that'll clear you out. Because it clears. That's the way I have to meditate, because I can't do it still, because I have so many spirits bombarding me. I put my music on with my headphones, dude, and I hear that first beat or that first guitar riff, and then everything else just floats away.
He plays drums too.
Yeah. Wow, yeah, man. I've been playing since I was 4. I love drums. It's a thing you get your aggression out, but it's also, you're so creative because you got the different beats, and you got to keep you're the backbone of the band. So the drummer's not in time, everybody else is messed up. So you set the pace for the whole band. So I love being a drummer, man. I'm glad to meet another.
Absolutely. One. And you know what? That ties into what I said a little bit ago. Just like a drummer, you set the pace. Hey, in this spiritual walk, and that even as a counselor, you set the pace. Yes, right? Your room, when they walk in, you set the pace of how that's going to go.
I like that.
So you got to make sure you stay on top of it.
But you guys, the one thing you got to know also is, I don't know if I ever told you guys about the time traveler type of experience that you could have for people. Time travel to me is real, and the way it works is when, let's go way back, and you hear the certain song that you heard in your youth. Come now, you're having a bad day. That song comes on. What do? You go back in time to that memory.
Yes,
it makes you happy and brings you back now, and you smile. So the bad day goes away.
Yeah, and you're thinking about,
able to bring your mind back in time and come back.
Yeah, the first time you hear that song, it's like, I was here when this song first came on the radio, or I was here doing this when I heard this on my first time on an album, or any other medium. We had 8 tracks, cassettes. But it is music is therapy for one, and it is calming. It clears your energy, and for the next one comes in, because you got that charge again. Now it's like, okay, I cleared myself. Now I'm ready for the next person to come in. Let's do this again.
Absolutely. And they make music specifically for spiritual cleansing, for aligning chakra. Like there's music made specifically, frequency-based music made specifically for those type things.
And I sleep with it every night.
Yep. That music is actually based off what they call binaural beats, which
Yes.
every song that's ever been played has a binaural beat in it, whether you know it or not. And those go back to more, I'd say, more primal instincts of humans. And that re-triggers DNA stuff of like those primal beats hit. And then, like, this is so cool. Now it's cleared. Now my stuff is cleared again.
I love that. Light therapy, music therapy, and the thing is, it's interdimensional.
Yep.
It's interdimensional. It's ancient knowledge that we're calling New Age right now. I don't understand how it can be. I know that you're coming up on 8 o'clock, so I went ahead and did a 1 card pull for you. I've been shuffling the cards since we've been
Awesome.
talking. Okay, this is so cool. Oh my God, can you see it?
I can, yes.
She is a seer. She's got her eyes closed, and it says see beyond the current situation, and that is you.
Yep.
Wow.
That's you, because I think that in therapy sessions people see what happened and they're just, here's what happened to me and I'm trying to get to the other side of it. And
Mm,
you see them. And maybe that's what we've been talking about. That really, I don't say maybe, it is what we've been talking
Yeah.
about this whole time, giving them a voice. I see you. I want to hear you. And that's what you're doing.
absolutely. Right on par. Right on par.
That is so crazy. I love these. I'm using my angels and ancestors oracle cards. This is my turn not to be able to speak. Well, thank
Wow.
you, Zay.
You guys gotta invite me back for this. This is amazing.
Anytime, my friend.
Absolutely. It's so
Thank
much
you for
fun.
coming.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you so much for
Zay,
coming.
anytime you want to come back, bro, just say, come on back. I'm never going to turn down a fellow drummer, man. Come on.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Let somebody,
I want you to see him play, and his little nephew is following in his footsteps.
Yes.
Right on, man.
Now, when I say he's a drummer, he trains children, high schoolers, to play the front ensemble. And not only that, but they do indoor competitions, and they've been to the national, is it international or national?
It's international.
International.
You go, boy.
Yes, and
Woo-wee.
they did. What did they
Yeah.
do this year whenever you went this year?
This year we weren't able to go, but last year when we went, we
Okay.
scored within the top 10 of all in the nation. And the year previous to that, we scored top 3.
That's a big deal.
Mhm.
I was there with my son, and it's a really big deal. It's phenomenal. It
Absolutely.
really
The
is.
kids, they work super hard. And you know what? I sneak in little lessons about positive expectation and making
Yes, you
sure
do.
that you approach this with a clear mind. You know, we get those lessons in there. We make sure that we have a positive mental approach to music as well as, you know, approaching it physically correctly. So we always get those lessons in.
Yeah.
That's awesome. You get the
Elijah
mental
says
and
that
the physical together.
yeah, man, Elijah always said that Zay was his favorite teacher. Yeah, he
I've
loves
always
Zay.
loved it. Always loved
Yeah,
it.
he does. Well,
Well,
I know you got to take off.
Zay,
Absolutely.
it was
Thank
an
you
honor.
guys so much for having
Yeah.
me.
Thank
I'm sorry
you
I
for
have to
coming.
run to this other meeting, but it
Hey.
has been a blast. I can't wait to do this again.
Hey,
Yeah, we're
take
gonna have a
care.
great time.
Take care and go have fun with the band, man.
Absolutely. You guys take it easy.
Great,
All right.
great meeting you. Great meeting you.
Yep. Great meeting you.
So you
That
know what
was
I'm
fun.
thinking? What I'm thinking is when you come next weekend, maybe he can go along with, because he lives in this town.
Does he really? Well,
Yeah.
I'll be there to go to the cabins with us. Is that where
Yeah.
we're going next, right?
Yep.
Or as
Ian.
we like to call them, the naked cabins.
The naked-
Naked was our theme this weekend.
Yes, it was.
But I'll
It
tell
was-
you what. I'll tell you it's funny. I'll tell you what's funny though. We went to a restaurant and they served pizza and wings and they come around and he says, "What kind of wings you want?" I said, "I want mine naked." He goes, looks at me and says, "What is naked?" I said, "Naked wings are not dipped in sauce. They're just cooked and the sauce is on the side." And he said, "I've never heard that term before." And I'm like, "They've been called naked wings forever that I can remember that you didn't want sauce on."
Up here we have dirty wings.
Okay.
They were made famous at a restaurant up here called J. Timothy's in Plainville, Connecticut. That's very haunted.
Nice.
You know, part of the building was from the 1700s. Supposedly, they claim that Washington stopped there it was like a stop on the trail there. But there was a guy, they were playing softball, and he liked to talk to everybody, and his wings would get cold. So they'd have him like refry them again with some more sauce. So it's basically the sauce, and then refry them again, more sauce on it. Call them extra dirty wings. So,
Nice.
yeah, so it's pretty cool. They're very good, and they've been ranked nationally for that.
Right
for
on.
wings. So, yeah. I think at Super Bowl time, something like 4.2 tons, 4.2 tons of wings they serve at Super Bowl time. This restaurant.
That wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah. Yep. People come, they have to get an appointment, and you got to like book it like a month in advance, and you come in.
Holy moly!
Yeah, it's crazy. So they're that good.
Hey, if it's that good, it's probably worth to go ahead and order early. Then that way you know you're getting yours.
Oh heck yeah! It's the place to go. If you guys ever come up this way, I'll have to take you there.
So I'm gonna swing over to a little more about our serial killers.
Oh yeah.
So
Let me get my headphones on. Good.
So there's a legend, a urban legend, I guess you'd say, about John Wayne Gacy.
Mm-hmm.
His last words were "kiss my ass."
It was.
And they're saying now that that's actually a lie, that he didn't say anything.
Oh,
but
yeah,
doesn't it sound like he?
No, he actually did say that because I've asked him. I said, "What were your last words?" He said, "I told him to kiss my ass."
Mm-hmm.
So he did say it, but I don't know why they're trying to.
I mean, it sounds just like that. Sounds just like something. But according to his attorney, Karen Conti, he was she was spoke directly to the prosecutor who was present. They said that he didn't have any last words.
Yeah,
and that was she mentioned it on a podcast in May. Actually, the May 3rd, recently.
Well, actually, his exact last words were, "Okay, let's do this. Kiss my ass." And he did mumble the "kiss my ass" part of it, but it was said. And he did said, "Well, let's do this. Kiss my ass," like that.
Well, that makes sense because he said it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it happens a lot of time in this press type of coverage and all that, where when you say something negative like that, it's for the family's sake, where you don't give them the benefit of the doubt to be able to say something like that. And the families, you're protecting the families. So yeah, you're going to take that out of the press and you're going to say he didn't say that, but you really don't know. We weren't there. Was anything recorded? We don't know. So that's the whole thing. Like I tell people, even in the paranormal, unless you were there and all that, you can't say if it's real.
No way to know. Yeah.
You got to be.
I'm just going by what his spirit told me on that, and I believe what he said because
I wonder how he felt when the needle was jabbed in him. And
no joke.
He didn't feel it at all. He already had an IV already in. He never felt the needle, but the IV needle.
No. Yeah, he was ready. He was ready to go because they said on his last day he was very chatty, and was talking to everybody like he was always that type of person. He was very social, and it's weird because sociopaths could be very social or very antisocial.
And he was very
manipulation.
He was a member of the JCs. He did a lot of stuff with JCs. He did a lot of stuff with the Democratic Party in Chicago.
Yep.
And he was very social. So, and his being a businessman like he was, he blended in with so many different people because he probably did work for some of these rich politician people and these higher up peoples.
Well, it is. It's a power thing sometimes with some of these serial killers to get into that position of power. There, even with Gacy and all that, where he got with all that, even with his background, and some people knew his background and still let him get into that type of power. But even I don't want to get off topic, but even Bundy, at one point, Bundy's politics, they were thinking he could become the governor of Washington.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and he had actually thought about running at one time while he was still doing his serial killing.
Yeah. So in Gacy, there's pictures of him with Rosalind Carter at the time.
Sure is.
You think about
there is.
You think about him and all the people he killed in the Secret Service, and they have to protect, the president's family. And this guy is like, oh my God, you don't know. You
No.
never know. You could walk by, like they say, an average of 31 to 38 serial killers in your lifetime.
Yeah.
And you don't know
Wow.
until like after the fact. You see the guy in the news. Shit, I was just at the bar with that guy.
It's like,
You
wait a
don't
minute,
know.
I saw this guy at McDonald's. What the hell?
Yeah, exactly. So, it's crazy. So I got friends that have, you guys, Danny Perez, the Radicals and all that.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, we know Danny real well.
yeah. And Michael Ross was a big known serial killer, probably the most prolific, the last one to be had the death penalty put on him and actually carried through with lethal injection here in the state of Connecticut before they banned that.
Wow.
But when Danny was younger, his parents used to take them to the farm and they would play. And there was another guy there that would kind of watch over him and play too. It was actually Michael Ross, the serial killer.
Wow.
So Danny was almost being babysat by Michael Ross and had that
Wow.
you don't know, at a young age
Yeah.
and all that. And he grows up and Danny's probably like, oh my God, this guy used to hang out with me at the farm the parents used to take us to.
Oh my
That's
God.
great.
That's cool though. Not cool, but it's
Not cool, but yeah, but you never know. That's the
true.
thing is there is patterns. Serial killers do have those patterns that we could follow and we could do that. But every serial killer has a fingerprint.
Yeah.
That's the reason why, I've been profiling for a long time, but my profiling doesn't mean crap. I just want to tell you that I could do all my due diligence, all my tests, all this other stuff, but is it going to help me find a serial killer? No, it probably doesn't. It really doesn't figure out if I did a good job until the person's actually caught. And because
I
they
tell
have,
you, one of the best
you don't know.
one of the best profiles ever done was on Ed Kemper.
Yeah.
And Ed knew that he did wrong.
Yeah.
And he gave pretty much the first FBI profilers a playbook on how a serial killer thinks, acts, and does.
Yeah.
And I know Kemper just like finally said, okay, I've had enough. I don't want to kill anybody else. And he actually would go eat lunch with like cops in his city.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he'd talk about stuff with the cops. And then when he got tired of killing, he said, I just walked in the police station, said, my name is Ed Kemper. I'm turning myself in for these murders. And he was done.
Isn't that something?
Well, I think a lot of
Ed
it
Kemper's
is,
like,
a lot of it is with Ed. His whole trauma was his family. His sisters abused him. His mother was always on him. And I think that's with a lot of the young women that he killed and all that was out of anger that, which some people, psychology wise, some people when they're so angry and all, they cut themselves and they're said to it relieves them. But with Ed, his relief with the anger that he had, would he go kill people and that would relieve him. But I think the biggest relief was the main reason why he was killing was his mom.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
When he finally killed her, that's when he finally said he knew he was doing wrong. That's why he's not a psychopath. He's more of that sociopath type of thing. He just couldn't, like I said, there's two different sides of sociopath. One's like Gacy, who's very engaging and manipulative, or you have the other side of it, the other aspect where you're not good socially with women or anything like that because of how you were brought up. They're both still sociopaths, just on a different spectrum of it. There's so many different, just like with anything, you're on a spectrum of sociopath. You're on a spectrum of psychopath.
Yep.
You're on a spectrum of narcissism and all that. So they're all different. Narcissists aren't as violent as, say, a psychopath or a sociopath, but they're all intertwined in a way, with that psychosis and all that. So.
I'm curious about something, Blaine. Do they feel a sense of relief once the death penalty is given, since they're released from their broken minds?
Sometimes yes, and other times they are so into themselves that they have no remorse for what they did either. And other times it's like, okay, that's my fate. Okay, I accept my fate. Go ahead and do what you got to do.
It is weird because some of these serial killers, they don't care. They'll take it all the way to the end. Okay, my death's coming. All right, no big deal. Because sometimes they don't even feel for themselves, because they're so damaged. But then there's other ones that I think have an inkling that they did wrong. Like we talked about Lee for tonight, Harold Shipman. I think in the end, he knew he did wrong and he hung himself. So when they hang themselves, they know they did wrong. It's almost like, okay, or it's the other way around where I'm going to control everything and I'm going to kill myself and not let anybody else do it. So there's that different aspects of it. Is there the remorse, or is there that narcissism? Like, I'm not going to let anybody kill me. I'm just going to do it myself. So
it's like there's actually not that many that the death penalty has a penological effect on at all.
Mm-hmm. No, it really doesn't, and I think that's why a lot of states done away with it. Because does it really help the family? I don't think it does. And I don't know. There's so much trauma to it that it's hard to really say if it's something good or not. I think maybe how much does it cost to keep somebody alive in jail, or just put them to death, or I don't know.
It's actually quick and cheap.
That's where I'm at too.
That's where I'm at. Trial and everything.
There's something that when I was, getting ready for tonight. Wesley Allen Todd. His situation came to mind, reminded me a little bit of Edmund Kemper, because his last words were incredible, very strange, and he was a full sentence. I was once asked by somebody, I don't remember who, if there was any way sex offenders could be stopped. I said no, but I was wrong. That's the last thing he said. That showed us, remember, Ted Bundy also talked about how there towards the end, he was talking about how he felt like it came from pornography and how it warped his mind. And he started with, had problems with pornography, and then it had to be more violent and it had to be more nasty and whatever else. And it tuned his brain, is what he said. I don't know how to feel about that. I guess that was his failed attempt of feeling remorse. But Edmund Kemper said that he believed he needed to be tortured to death because of what he did, but all of these people, and I'm not sure about Wesley Allen Todd, but Ed Kemper, Ted Bundy, they had extremely high IQs. Now, now I'm like in my head thinking, does this have anything to do with each other? I know that Wesley Allen Todd served in the military, and he talked about the monster that would come out of his closet and how he slid into a very dark depression. I know that we didn't say we were going to talk about him, but when we were talking about last words, I remembered something about him, and then it just kind of sent me down that road. And I really feel like he had, from what I was getting, he was talking about, he spoke a different language. He had a different, because I totally felt him talking to me. I know I was going to try to do something else, but this one is just very real. I know that he had a thing for siblings, and I know that he had problems with, I know he had some type of injury. He kept telling me he had been hurt, and then therefore his mind thought differently, and he felt like he even had his own language. His brain had a different language of sociopathy or psychopathy. And he just really felt like he couldn't do any different, like Kemper didn't. And I wonder if it's because, what was the girl's name that was a serial killer that's just so dastardly? What is her name? All serial killers are dastardly.
Yeah. Which one? Eileen Wuornos?
That's it. Because she would say, her last words are, "I'll be back."
Yeah.
Don't we as a society need to address the fact that, I guess they would have to believe in, reincarnation, but there are cultures that do believe in that.
Yeah.
I mean, don't they need to do some sort of therapy or something or other in order to prevent them from? I've just got my head in a
Well, it's the
crazy head
thing.
space here.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm thinking about their
Yeah,
IQ and their
sociopathy is not treatable. They've only
Yeah.
been able to do the psychopathy.
well, there you go.
Well, it's the whole thing is at the young age, if you don't recognize this in your children at a young age, I always tell people that this stuff happens. You could be brought up in a good home. So they say, but I want to let you know there's the bad home, there's the good home. There's some parents, you could overparent your kid. You could
Yes.
be so overprotective that creates the trauma. But also, the neglect and all the other stuff. But when you're a kid and you're neglected and these things are going on and you're trying to make sense of it and nobody's there to intervene, you rewire your own brain to make sense of it, to make it good for you. Whether it be Bundy with thinking that, watching, pornography or anything like that, and how he kept rewiring his brain to make it used to it and make it worse and worse. But the thing is Bundy really had a psychopath type of thing. So I think that was always there. I think it was more of an excuse for him. I think a lot of his life, he trained his brain because he was so smart to make it appear that he cared. He worked at a suicide hotline.
Yeah.
And I think he learned to, being at the suicide hotline, how to talk to people, even though I think he couldn't feel. He almost like he was living an actor's life.
Yeah, he was learning
making it up,
how to portray the emotions he couldn't.
Exactly.
How awful would it be to have novocaine emotion? No sense of emotion.
I don't know what I would do, and I think that's why we're fascinated by it. It's like I said, they all have patterns. They all have different reasons that they do what they do, but those patterns, and again, like I said, there's the fingerprint. That's the thing that fascinates us the most. It's like, I could look at Bundy, I could look at Dahmer, I could look at Gacy, I could look at Harold Shipman, and the reason why they do things, but it's the fingerprint that made them flip. How did they rewire their brain to do what they did? So there's that difference. That's why we can't find these people until it's too late sometimes.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
Blaine, I see that you're speaking, but I can't hear you. Nuh-uh.
Mm-hmm.
While he's getting his mic to work, I want to throw in Harold Shipman, Dr. Death. Oh my God, this guy.
The angel of death too.
Yeah, he was he killed patients.
Yeah.
Because he wanted to be in their will, and he was caught for that reason. I heard something, Blaine. Are you talking?
I'm back now.
Yes, there you go.
You talk about Kevorkian?
This is Harold Shipman.
Yep.
Harold Shipman, he was from Manchester, and he's a doctor, and he watched his mom get morphine shots to ease the pain while she was dying of lung cancer.
Yep.
So therefore, he's, I don't know, something just in his head. Maybe as a child, he thought that the shots were killing her, and he thought that death was the cure. I don't know, but he didn't seem to have a situation where he felt like he was putting them in a better place, because he certainly he's totally made the will of this one particular lady.
Mm-hmm.
She was 81 years old in Manchester, and he went to her house for a visit. This was 1998.
Yeah.
And he went in, and then just a little while later, her family found her dead, and she was in good health.
Yeah.
And then they found a will. A will was produced. Oh, and Shipman said no need for an autopsy, and he received her entire estate.
Wow.
And they're like, nah, something up here.
Yeah.
So everybody started looking into it, and he was convicted of 15 counts of murder and 1 account of forgery that they know of. Okay. And he committed suicide in jail. Well, this is like 2005. official report came out. So I guess somebody really needed to figure all this out, probably because a lot of money was tied up with it. People that had been his patient, and these, people were wondering, okay, is our will messed up? Do we need to go back through probate? What happened? Did he, but anyway, they said that there's an estimate of 250 people that he
Yeah.
killed since 1970.
Yeah.
And the majority of these folks, he gave them what his mother took, to feel better. And he felt like he was practicing euthanasia,
Oh, wow.
giving people a dignified death. That's bullcrap. It was all
Yeah.
about the money.
Yeah. It's very H.H. Holmes like.
Yeah,
I
no doubt.
agree.
Huh?
And Harold Shipman being the doctor in that trusted role, and how he was able to kill these many people, is because it's a trusted role. Us as a society look at doctors as being smart and trustworthy and all this other stuff. That's why we always have to advocate for our family and all that when they're with doctors, Yeah, they're not always, you got to advocate and all that, and you got to know and be on top of things with your family so this type of stuff doesn't happen.
Right.
Like I always tell you guys, when I do Tuesday morning serial, yes, I'm fascinated with serial killers, but I am more fascinated with the victims.
Yes.
Yes.
And
Thank
how
you
I
for
can
saying
help.
that.
I want to help them, and I want to
Yes.
help other people not become victims. And that's why I talk about this stuff a lot. Yeah, we are fascinated, but we have to protect us as a society. We have to be, as parents, we're not all perfect parents, but we have to know that we can't neglect our kids, but we can't overprotect our kids too. They need to experience stuff. They need to know it's okay to lose and overcome it and all that, and learn these things at a young age to be a more rounded person and try and overcome these types of things. So they have the ability and they have the tools to make sure that their brain isn't rewired for the negative. And, we want to keep it positive.
Yes.
So, it goes back, like, they got certain things that hasn't proven the McDonald triad where, some of these kids, they're cruel to animals. Those are the things to look out for. They wet their bed past the age that they should into adolescence. They have this want to light things on fire, arson type of things and all that. Those are the things that most of these serial killers, when they interviewed them, with the FBI, when they interview people like Kemper and all that, they get this information, and that's where the patterns come in. But yes, if our kids are doing patterns, doesn't mean they're going to grow up and be a serial killer, but at least we could address it and give them that opportunity to take away the odds.
That's right. I am like you. I feel like the more educated I am, the better I will be and able to deal with the spiritual realm, because luckily these spirits aren't able to take life,
Yeah.
but also I don't want to be a victim again.
Yeah.
I want to show you this. These ladies, well, hold on, let me pull you guys down. Brandon, can you help me get that up there? It says I put it in background. That's why I can't get it to put up there. I don't want a video clip.
I'll work on it. I'll
Thank
keep
you,
talking.
sweetheart.
I'll work on
Okay.
What's up,
But,
Noam?
yeah.
it. Hey, buddy.
What's
Hi,
going
buddy.
I was just going to say the majority of Harold Shipman's victims are in their 70s. The majority of them are female, and the majority of them have the same type of haircut, the same type of even the way they dressed and the way they smiled, even their body statue.
Yeah.
And I want to see what his mother looks like, to see if he was, what I'm saying repeating.
Yeah. Well, that's the trauma. He's visualizing, and I think a lot with Shipman, the reason why he became a doctor is because his mom was ill. He was 17 when his mom died, and he witnessed this. That's a crazy age. Really, you look at it maybe at a younger age, I would think it would be more of a rewiring and all that. But you never know at 17. I don't know how attached he was to his mother, but to watch her pass away, and to see that the only thing that gave her relief was that morphine, and that's kind of why he used it. It's almost like it was a learned negative. It was a trauma that he learned and brought later on into life as a doctor. We don't know. We don't know how the fingerprint works with some of these people, what makes them change. But that pattern's there as we look at it, that relationship with my mother, seeing her die, that trauma, and that fits that pattern. But, what made him do what he did, was he thinking that, okay, I'm going to help these people, relieve them like this stuff relieved my mom, even though she died, but it seemed to give her relief. But the thing is with the attachment with the will at the end,
I wonder how the will went. Did he lose some of the inheritance he should have gotten, and now he's mad? Because I just looked his mother up, and she looks exactly like the patients that he targeted.
Yeah, that's the trauma. I think a lot of serial killers act out on their trauma. That's
they replay it.
Yeah, it's they're acting out. They see it. It reminds them. And he sees that patient that reminds him of his mom, and
Yep. That's probably it was his trigger.
Yeah. Everybody has a trigger, even us. We grew up with trauma and all that. Even me, I've gone through a lot of stuff in my life, and it seems like when I really lose it, it's like a reminder of something that happened to me when I was younger, and it upsets me. And there's triggers, of course. My friend Adam's been watching and all that, and
he's such a sweet person.
Yeah, he's great. But it's funny, we talked about it on his show. It was like, I talk about this stuff all the time, and he's like, "You ever worry that somebody might think you are one?" And I was like, "No, I don't think so. I'm so far from it. I care about people too much to be in that pain."
I think
like
people probably think that about me, though. I really do. Okay, here I got it, Brandon. So you don't have to mess with it. Here you go. Those are some of the victims, but the majority of them kind of, as you can tell, they pretty much look alike, right?
Yeah.
And there you go. Thank you, Brandon. Golly, he was quick.
Yeah.
And let me get Mama up here.
Yeah.
Get his mother up here. Images. Okay. Isn't that something? Now take that down real quick, Brandon, and I want to show everybody his mother. Two of these ladies look identical. That's his mom.
Yeah. Where is it?
Here, let me pull another one up. That's not. I think that was one of his victims.
It's crazy as you're showing this. It looks just like your mom. And people that are watching this right now, it makes so much sense. You don't even have to be a profiler to figure out that Harold Shipman was traumatized by his mother's death in a way that rewired his brain. And when he started killing people, I still think at first, I think it was the trauma of it and him trying to relieve in a way. But I think with some people like that, he keeps getting away with it. And then his brain changed again. It's like, shit, I could get money from this. It's almost like an additional thing that came up.
Oh, yeah.
With H.H. Holmes, he got money from it. But there's other times, I think in his mind, he wanted to be known for something, and he was trying some stuff, with these bodies like we talked about before in your letter. And, there's one thing, and it's like,
that's Mama.
Yeah.
Now that's young. As she got older,
it's weird how their MOs change. Serial killers don't always have the same MO as they get, I hate to say better at what they do. Their MO could change. And that's what makes it hard to profile, because their MO changes because they do something long enough. It's like you said with Bundy, at first he watched, porn, and it got worse and worse and worse to the point where his mind changes. Your mind could change at any time and take a new direction. We're not always the same our whole lives. There's things that happen. There's other traumas that come into play, especially when you're in that mind frame. your MO could change at certain times. And
Yeah,
you know,
here's
that's what makes it
here's
crazy.
another thing. It says here that he actually timed some of his deaths around his bills.
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
is the mortgage is due. I guess I got to go down the street and see what you call it, and you know.
Yeah. So
Oh dang!
that's amazing because he's a doctor. It's like, how bad are you? How did he? I bet some serial killers. I guess he's a doctor and all that, but that compulsion or to the point where he probably wasn't good with his finances.
Yeah, there you go,
there's that
Blaine.
other.
She's
Hi,
been
Luna.
devastated. She's been
There she
devastated.
is.
Hi, Luna.
When Blaine left, she's been looking the house over, hunting Blaine.
Oh boy.
She loves Blaine.
Mhm.
You got to see him whenever he showed up at the house. She came around real slow. Her eyes got real big, and she looked at me like, "Are you serious?" And she looked back at him, and she just came to him like a little baby, like, "Oh my God, I can't believe he's here." It was so sweet.
Animals are so true. So
Yep.
Oh my God.
I really hope that we have a breakthrough when it comes to being able to treat people, especially if this is something that is, if it's curable. I mean, if it's something genetic, I hope that we can get better at being able to treat mental illness, rather than just medication.
Lee, I just read something today that there's certain scientists are working on at a certain enzyme that can actually correct what it does is it attacks the bad part of the DNA. Well, like if you had cancer or you had something else, what it does is it goes in and attacks those cells or the part of the DNA that will cause that disease or that reaction and rebuilds them where it removes all traces of that enzyme that's in there. Yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting.
But it's so crazy. I definitely don't want to say anything political or anything like that. Well, that's cool music. But I don't want anybody to think weird, but I think our government's never going to let those types of cures happen with big pharma and all that.
No, dude, because that's all their big lobby.
Yeah.
100% agree with you. Sorry, I had to jump in.
That's okay, buddy.
Well, now they've had probably cures for every disease we have.
Yeah.
But like you said, big pharma is big packs, and they put a lot of money into lobbies, and lobby money works, dude. It's not for the good, but it works. That gets those politicians like, they gave me this amount of money, I got to do this.
Yeah, we need more money for mental health. They don't put enough time into that, And like true. I was telling you, a lot of these serial killers, it's their upbringing. Is it genetic? It could be, but sometimes if you're genetically predisposed to it, that basically means that your family was that type of person. If you could pull somebody out to get that treatment, I don't wish anybody be taken out of their homes or anything like that. But if you're an abusive house and all that, you get taken away from that and treated at a younger age, because I think you get to a certain point, if those traumas aren't treated, they manifest into things worse. And then we see the potentials of the Jeffrey Dahmers of the world, the John Wayne Gacy's and all that. But I know we talk about this, we're very in tune to it, but serial killer crime is only 1% of all crime. So there's a lot of other crimes going on, but there's other types of psychosis.
But you make me think about it too. It's like, okay, there's something that makes a person kill, or there's something that makes a person steal, or commit sexual crimes, or sexual traffic people. But there's something in the brain that doesn't seem right to us, because I don't think about ever wanting to kill anybody, especially multiple people. I'm not a thief, for one. I hate thieves and liars more than anything, and I've never had the thought of going and doing anything with a child.
But
that there are people that do. They think it's normal.
It is. It's because a lot of times with the child stuff, a lot of these kids grow up, they were abused. It's just keeps happening over and over again. You know, I hate to get into that, but over and over again,
It does,
it's
dude.
done to them, so they get older and they think, okay, I have to do this.
Well,
And they think it's normal. It's like, let's go back to somebody like Michael Vick. Remember Michael Vick, the quarterback?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
He grew up, and his family, they were all into dogfighting. So to him, his brain was like, okay, this is okay.
This is
he gets
okay.
to the NFL and he gets caught with it, and he thought it was okay, and it's not. And the next thing you know, he's in jail. But his mind accepted because that's what he was brought up with. That's what he.
They didn't teach him any different because, like you said, it was a family thing that they raised dogs to fight. They went to fights all the time.
Yeah.
And he thought, that was just as normal as going to your grandparents' house for Sunday dinner,
Exactly. So that's the thing, is your atmosphere, what you grow up in. Is that genetic? No, it's learned. But some people are predisposed to certain things genetically, yes.
Sure. It's like,
but I think the genetics isn't going to open up until something is learned. So I think that's where it comes in. So, I don't think really, but there is people that are born that way. What is his name? You ever hear of Amardeep Sada?
Yeah.
He killed 3 people by the age of 8.
Yeah, I know you're talking about in India. Yeah. I was looking at his situation too.
The youngest serial killer, and it's like, okay, how much has he learned by the age of 8? But there was the other girl, I forget her name. She was 10. She killed a bunch of boys, and I mean, she was sadistic. I mean, to the point she would go to the mothers and say, "Do you feel bad that your kids are gone?" Before she got caught. It's just, you're 10 years old. What makes you do that? So there is the weighing that, okay, is my brain rewired? Am I born this way? And that's the big argument that we have.
Yeah.
Are there seeds that are born that way, or is it learned? Is it the trauma? Or somebody like that young, is it a trauma from a past life?
Yes.
Yeah. We talk about past life regression, things like that you were somebody else in another time, and you get that same, attachment as you come into this world again. So it's so fascinating of how we look at those things, and it's never 100% on anything. Even serial killers, like, I think my fascination, just like the paranormal, you're never 100% right, never 100% wrong about it. It's learning all this, the chase of it almost, that I don't think you'll ever even come up with the exact answer. And I think that's why we're so fascinated. That's why we do what we do. And that's why we try to help people and understand and throw out ideas like that people are like, oh, that makes sense. Like I said, I'm not always going to be right. And I always, when I make my talks, when I talk to people, I always start off my speech with, everything I'm about to tell you don't have to believe. But hopefully what I say, hope the train's coming. And I hope what I say to you is going to help you.
Where the train came from.
Yeah. So the Chattanooga choo-choo right there. So, but yeah, I throw it out there that, wow, the train loves me tonight. So, but it's you have to let people know. You don't have to believe everything everybody says, But when I do talk to people and say my experiences, I hope that it helps them and it triggers something to heal them, to bring them forward, or anything like that. I could talk to 1,000 people. If one person says he helped me, then I did my job when I gave my talk. So that's all that matters.
Yep. Did you ever see there's some footage on YouTube. There's a child a young child that the parents had to lock her in her room at night to keep her from sticking pins in her brother. And she said that she dreamed about killing him and killing her parents, and they had to do some serious psychotherapy on her and training, and she realized that it was wrong, and she was able to learn ways out of that type of thinking. She said that she felt like she had changed. She still didn't feel emotion like other people, but she was definitely exhibiting new learned behavior.
Yeah.
And she said she could feel feelings.
Yeah.
So there's a blend of personalities in that one that's, I would like to open that up a little bit. Let's unpack that one day and talk about it, because I don't know how to.
My feeling is if they don't get early intervention like that, the best option is to institutionalize them.
But the institutions now are getting smaller and smaller and few and far between. And now they just figured that society's got to take care of them, or the police department.
Now we're starting to see that it actually costs more money to throw them in jail than just to put them in mental institutions.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it's crazy. Our world that we live in, we give away so much money for other things that we need to take care of us. Us people here in this country, and give us a future. And sometimes a little bit of that money could save a lot of lives. And again, we don't take, we send our young kids out to war, and we don't take care of them when they come back. With
I
mental
agree with
health.
that.
Exactly, with mental health and just our own children and stuff, and what it goes. It saddens me. I think the empath in me just it grinds my gears to see this stuff happen, and and I don't. You wonder what I could do about it is what I'm doing right now with you guys. Somebody hears this, us talking and all that, and makes a decision. I need to be there more for my kids and help them out, and they make that decision. I'm not saying there's anybody watching this is not raising their kids right, but if you make that decision to do a little bit more and that helps, you never know. It's like that teacher you had, that one teacher that helped you in life, and you always remember that teacher.
Mm-hmm.
It only takes one person to change your brain to think right sometimes. That's all it is. We got to be good to each other. We don't know what people are going through. We don't know when they need to hear that right thing.
I think that empathy goes a long way. Listening is even further.
The scary part is the cost to incarcerate someone is close to $200,000 a year. It's like a 75 to 100 to put them in a mental institution. It's a lot cheaper to use the mental route.
Yeah.
Well, the truth is there's a lot of money in prison systems. A
Yeah.
lot of money in prison systems.
Like we just talked about, the big pharma, wherever the money's going is that's what they're going to use. Unfortunately, we're a messed up society, and
we are. Let's face it, our health and our mental health is dependent upon the insurance we can afford, and who has bought into the insurance. I've had to go to a whole different dentist from the one that I've had my whole life because the insurance decided to be stupid. And I'm not happy with the other place. And I'm thinking, gosh, if it's like this just with my teeth, what about people that have genuine problems? I mean, genuine mental problems. And it took me right to the military, or people with PTSD, or first responders, the types of things that they have. They're having to use cell phone apps that they have to pay for themselves just to get their headspace straight.
Mm-hmm.
It's just.
Yeah, but then, it comes like for somebody, that help isn't there, but I believe just us here, the four of us just sitting here right now, and the people that are in our lives and in our circle, I think that's what depends on some of us being that positive reinforcement for some people. I've gone through this. I've had friends that didn't want to be here anymore, and I'd sit down and talk to them, and that changed them in a different perspective. It's that love we have to have for each other as a society. Sometimes we can't depend on the doctors to do this, or we can't ask our politicians to do whatever. We have to help each other. But we treat each other like crap sometimes, and it blows my mind. Even us in the paranormal and how much drama there is and all this other stuff. If we could help each other, and we're all on the same goal, trying to do the same thing to help people, let's help each other. You know,
Yeah.
I say this all the time. I don't want to get on my soapbox or anything like that, which I'll probably talk about on my word origins on Wednesday. But
Nothing wrong with this. I mean,
since I just said that, I'm going to have to do that one. But
Hey, I gotta say thank you for using the one that I gave you about the pot to piss in. That was pretty
Yeah.
good. Pot to piss in.
yeah,
I had
Did you
like that,
that one?
but yeah, because I've known that for a long, long time,
Yeah,
and you have to give them the new one with the acronym for shit actually stands for.
yeah, yeah.
'Cause
Ship
shit is
high
not-
and
yeah.
ship
Ship
high
high
and
and
transit.
transit. Yep.
yeah.
I think you told me that one years ago.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's
that's
so
so
good.
cool.
I never know what Facebook's going to slap me in the face for, or TikTok.
I
dude.
know.
Because I tell you, every time I talk about Dahmer or Ted Bundy, I get shadow blocked.
Well,
on
because
TikTok.
it's it might hurt somebody's little feelings to know the truth.
Yeah, but all the other ones, it's fine, you
Hmm.
know. But
Those are particular.
yeah, I'm gonna have to stop saying who I'm talking about if it's Bundy
Yeah.
or Dahmer. No hashtags, just like do it. So see if that goes by. But I don't know. So they're got a lot of interesting stuff about them too. So, but
Yeah, it is. Both of them.
yeah,
It's like, I mean, Dahmer was the first, big major news story about a cannibal
yeah,
in the United States. And now
Yeah.
we've had several serial killers that were cannibals and other tribes and stuff that are cannibals, but he was the
Yeah.
first one mainstream media that
Yeah.
talked about him being a cannibal and eating people,
yeah. Oh, there's a few other ones, and it's what is his name? I think his name is Dornhall Vargas.
Oh, Dornhall Fargus. Yes, I forgot about him.
And the funniest thing I ever heard was he talked about how he only ate men that were in good shape. He didn't eat fat men because he felt it was bad for his diet. It would give him
So
Oh my God.
if I eat healthy men, I'll be
Yeah.
healthy. Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
exactly. No kids, no older people. He felt older people were like food. They were like spoiled. I can't eat old people, I gotta eat young, fit people or whatever. Yeah, the other one. Oh
Gotta eat healthy.
And I think Dahmer is said in an interview that he didn't like tattooed people because the tattoos made him taste funny.
I feel like getting tattoos all over myself
it's
now.
crazy.
I'm glad I'm tattooed up, man.
Yeah, so am I. You're not gonna be eating me, man. So.
So,
Well, I don't fit all the criteria. I'm bigger. I'm older. I have tattoos. Hell, I'd probably be with grizzly as hell if they tried to eat me. So
yeah. Well, at least you're safe. We know Blaine is safe.
Yeah, they ain't eating me.
Oh, I'm not. Well, other than the fact that I'll fight back and everything, but I've got long hair. I often wear a ponytail, and women are often manipulated by that. I'm too nice, I'm trusting. I mean, there's a lot of things. That's why I have to make sure that I'm trying to train myself.
Yeah, you have
And
to.
I wanted to work with the FBI when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And I know that is probably the best thing that I never got close to that goal.
Yeah, well, that's where a lot of the crisis management comes in that I've talked about, that I've experienced, and learning what I learned. You go through FBI type of training and clearance and things like that. But yeah, I think when I was growing up, we all played cops and robbers and all. I always had that thing, and I think I got to experience that part of my life. I've experienced a lot of stuff in my life, but that was like an amazing part. And I'm glad to keep doing it in some sort, to help people still doing it in a way. Yeah, I don't have my badge anymore. I don't carry a gun or anything like that, but I'll still tell you, God forbid you step into my house uninvited. I'll tell you that, it's a lot of training.
Oh, yeah.
But I always tell people here, don't mess with the guy that knows too much about serial killers.
Yeah.
And also a paranormal investigator, because we all know where all the places nobody wants to go. That's the old funny saying and all that, but yeah.
That's good, Thomas.
Oops,
Most people don't realize it's a lot of talking and intervention.
Yeah,
For sure.
Most of it's not related to your gun at all. It's about helping people.
Yeah. Yep. So,
I wonder how much
See, it would
of.
be funny for me.
Go ahead, Blaine.
I just wonder how funny it'd be if somebody tried to break in my house.
Oh,
And then if I have to shoot them, they're going to get griped at from my wife. If she has to shoot them, she's really going to gripe at them because she had to shoot them. She had to clean up the mess that they made.
yeah. Yeah. Oh, it
Yeah,
gets
they're going to
crazy.
get bitched out before they take their last breath. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have guns anymore and all that. When I retired, but the thing is in my house is very small. So if somebody breaks in, I wouldn't have time to get to anything. So I'm just that's me. So, but I don't want to get into that type of talk or anything like that. But
That's cool.
yeah.
I got to ask you this, Tom, before we go off air.
Yeah.
Out of all the serial killers that you have studied, which one fascinates you the most?
I think Dahmer is still my favorite because of just there's so much that goes into his psychosis. There's so many little things and all that, and but I think a lot of the other ones that fascinate me are the ones that are never caught.
Oh yeah, dude.
You know, your Jack the Ripper, your a Zodiac killer. You know, there's. Are we ever going to know? We'll never know. You know, you're never going to know.
I think on the Zodiac they do have a very positive suspect because he checks all the boxes.
Mm-hmm.
But he is now dead, and they can't put it on because he's dead. But I think they do have enough evidence. They do have a name of the one that very well suspect and have enough evidence on that it was him that did it.
It matched a lot of things, but I think with familial DNA didn't match some of the crime scenes. So that's why they're saying they're not totally sure. Which are starting to think that Zodiac might have been two people.
Dude,
that's what I heard too.
Either he is there are several, there might be a league of them, or he could be a Chimerian where he has two different separate DNAs.
Yeah,
they've caught that on a couple of people that have done crime.
Yeah, there was the guy in Russia. What is it? His semen didn't have the same DNA as his blood.
Yeah,
that's why he was able to get out. Chicolato or something, I think his last name was, if I'm not mistaken. So, and Andrea Chicolato, or I think it is.
Yeah, tetragenic chimera.
So, but yeah, so those are the types of things. But I really think Zodiac, that could have been, but it's so rare. And to have two serial killers have the same type of, I'd be getting a lottery ticket on that one.
Well, yeah, no ticket, because both of them had exactly the same shoe size, wore the same shoes.
Yeah.
A lot of and both of them actually lived in Riverside, California. Both of them worked at University of Riverside or went to school there, and both of them had instances of San Francisco and the Bay Area as well. So there's like a lot of circumstantial coincidences on this, unless, like you said, dude, it was a team or there was a copycat that one was doing it and the other one could just copy it.
Oh, there's so many things that, so many people died. I forget the case in England where there was a copycat calling in saying he was so-and-so. And because in Britain, there's so many different British dialects and their accents. So the guy that was actually doing it and all that had a different accent as the guy that was calling and saying he was doing it. And all these people died and they misinterpreted. So when they finally caught the guy, the other guy that was calling in, he got arrested too, even though he didn't kill anybody. But because he kept them from getting the right person, he went to jail too. But it's crazy. There's that psychosis too. That's we give these people airtime.
Yeah.
And what's going on, and then these other people that have that self-esteem problems, like I want somebody to know me, so I'm going to pretend that I'm part of this, and then that's where things go wrong. That's why you're profiling, and you got to think of the outside source. Sometimes you can't be talking about this stuff in the press because especially nowadays, you give somebody too much time and all that. We're on social media with these people that want to, make themselves known. They want to they see somebody famous and they want to troll them and all that. So somebody will go see what they're all about to get their likes and stuff like that. It's just a different way. It even goes back, we're all going to see something and try and make our name known for it. And the infamy or fame or infamy, everybody wants it sometimes.
Yeah. And it was, like me, it was Henry Lee Lucas and Otis Toole claimed they killed over 300 something women. And I think he just, they believe that John Walsh's son, Adam, was killed by Otis Toole.
Yeah. So. Yeah, there's a lot that goes into, somebody like Otis Toole and all that. But some people want to say that they killed a lot of people. Even H.H. Holmes, he said he killed people that were still alive. You don't know, and it's unless you could prove it. But even with Chipman, 250 people. There's what's the other guy's name? It was over 300 people there in Peru or whatever, and he's not even in jail anymore.
Wow.
Yeah, because I guess there are different laws down there. Nobody knows where he is now. He's probably still killing people for all the heck we know.
Well, you know what? We've got just like 2 minutes left for the show.
Yep.
How can people reach out to you, and where are you broadcasting if they want to see you on your shows?
Me on my shows? Well, I'm always doing TikTok, Archangel the Paranormal, Instagram, Archangel the Paranormal, on Facebook, Thomas Patrick Gormley. I'm also part of the Shaman and the Showman LLC. We promote a lot of events. The Paracon here in Connecticut will be July 20th, 21st. The Salem Paracon, which is going to be October 19th and 20th. Also, the Connecticut witch trials that we're doing this year because they were exonerated last year. So that'll be August 10th and 11th on the historic Pratt Street in Hartford. I am also just signed a contract. I am official member of the TV show, Dark Echoes Paranormal. You can watch us on Paramount and on Amazon Prime. And there's potentially season 2 might get carried by Apple TV also. So
right on.
That's really good.
Awesome. Good job. Woohoo! So tonight I'm going to say a Native American blessing, and it's very short, but I want you guys to know that, we've talked about people that are in between insane and where we are today, just because we try to understand them, but we also want to think of their victims. Tonight we are going to honor the victims of these serial killers. This was not a glory fest about, people that have done dastardly things, but to protect ourselves. And also we want to say thank you to all of the families that support us as we try to do these spiritual cleansings and healings. So this Native American blessing is very short, and I hope that you'll take it to heart. May you have the strength of eagle's wings, the faith and courage to fly to new heights, and the wisdom of the universe to carry you there. Thank you for listening to Family Spirit International.
Next week. Bye.